Watch Dogs Legion never gets anything nice said about it, with a Metacritic score of 76 and a Steam score of 6 out of 10, and arguably two better games in the series before it setting the standard. It's flawed, had a rocky launch, and has horrible voice acting, but for once in this century, let's stop being idiot gamers with nothing good to say about anything and talk about what fun it does have on offer. Perhaps I'm at an advantage here, as Legion was the very first Watch Dogs game I played, followed by Watch Dogs 2, and I still only have about an hour's playtime in the first game for some reason. I think that's the way to approach Legion. View it as a standalone game in the series, and better yet, view it as a sandbox game. While its story and characters can never live up to what Watch Dogs 2 delivers, there is an argument for the overall sandbox experience being more fun. And it must be fun because somehow, even with two better Watch Dogs games out there, I've beaten Legion somewhere between 5 and 8 times on every difficulty. So what the heck is the appeal inside the internet dubbed trash pile?
I'm in.
If you can overlook the annoying AI assistant Bagley and all the other horribly obnoxious voices in the game, what you have is an infinite team of characters with different skills to explore enemy-infested areas of London with. London is as dreary as real life, so the lack of detail in the environment compared to, say, Watch Dogs 2's San Francisco can kind of be forgotten. But its landmarks are well done, and somewhere in between them all, you will find restricted zones, all of which contain the same sandbox items protected by enemies. Text and audio logs, which have absolutely no entertaining purpose at all, cryptocurrency stashes, new masks for your DedSec operatives to wear, the all-important tech points, which allow you to buy upgrades to your weapons, gadgets, and abilities, cameras, drones, and turrets, encrypted passwords for downloading, red circuit panels that control door locks, and potentially a computer-based objective like a CTOS hub. Your objective for all of these is primarily whatever the waypoint target is, and finding out how to collect the tech points, which are usually hidden away and require various tactics and gadgets to obtain. Whether you go in guns blazing, take a stealthy approach, or use character-specific abilities is up to you, and that's where the variety and fun lies. By default, every character is deployed with up to 2 weapons, a gadget, potentially a character-specific function, and infinite smartphone hacks that all refresh on a timer. This makes the combat more engaging than the previous Watch Dogs games, as you can have a silenced pistol as well as an automatic or a shotgun, a gadget such as the awesome cloaking device, and the tried and true environment hacks from previous games like triggering traps or distracting an enemy. And this time around, the hacks are free. Additionally, the character-specific hacks add variety, such as the Magician being able to hypnotize enemies into fighting their teammates.
You get the sudden urge to turn on all your friends.
I've been hit! Fuck, I'm hit! Ross, I'm hit!
Or the Beekeeper being able to summon a swarm of bees onto a target.
Off you go, darlings!
But it's this gadget slot that really amps up the gunplay. The Cloak is my personal favorite, but there is also the Spider Bot that can be upgraded to take down enemies, a combat spider turret, a proximity mine, a homing drone, and an electric brass knuckle for increased melee power. Of course, these unique options are largely unnecessary, as you can run through the game with one character and a pistol if you really wanted to, but they are there to spice up the combat more than the prior Watch Dogs games. Also spicing up the combat is the presence of combat drones everywhere in London. With enough upgrade points, you can hijack all types of drones, from the measly shock drone to the almighty counter-terrorism drone that comes equipped with a machine gun and homing rockets. Additionally, all red circuit breakers that control restricted zone door locks can be activated by gunfire or explosions, greatly aiding the infiltration, unlike the prior Watch Dogs games where these boxes could only be manually interacted with by hand. So it is possible to not even enter a restricted zone, hijack a hovering combat drone, and use it to take out all the guards, download all files, and complete the objective unscathed. All of these combat options are fun and ramp up the replayability of the game in a much more versatile way than the prior entries of the series, which had more rigid options and upgrades. Lastly, in discussing restricted zones, there are also uniform disguises. These are very minimal and slow the speed of your character considerably, but open up the potential for stealth by blending in as a construction worker, for example, or one of the enemy faction guards. The boroughs of London all have special interest missions that lead to the borough uprising against the police state oppression. Completing these leads to a defiant populace, the recruit of a highly skilled operative like a drone specialist, and the revealing of all remaining tech points on the map, which can really even the odds as the game ramps up in difficulty. While some of the borough missions are a pain, there are a few that are enjoyable, and they're all worth doing at least once. Now, while none of the characters you play as are memorable or have any story purpose at all, there are staple characters in the narrative that drive it along, and they are interesting enough to keep wanting to play. A favorite of mine would be Hamish Balaji, who teams up with DedSec to stop his former boss and leader of the Albion police force.
Not bad if I do say so, innit?
Hamish.
Haha.
Showing your face again, are you?
Yeah, well, can't lock myself away from the world forever. Got a lot to make up for, don't I? Besides, you sorry lot need all the help you can get. Check it.
Richard Malik is an interesting double agent working for the SIRS group.
Everything set your end?
Oh, it will be. But first you're going to tell me what this is really about.
All right. I'm infiltrating a terrorist group called DedSec. I'm setting up a meeting with them, and your men will capture me before DedSec arrives. So it has to look real. They can't know it's a setup.
You are a piece of work, Richard. What the hell are you getting out of this?
Dead terrorists.
And Sky Larson is a fascinating freak in a test tube trying to preserve the minds of living beings by converting them to AI.
What you saw in my lab, that was nothing more than the early stages of a very important experiment. It may not be pleasant, but Daybreak is the future of the human species. The only future, really. Look around. Corruption, climate change, nuclear war. Humanity is doomed to self-destruction, but Daybreak can change that. Help me bring about the next stage of human evolution. We can save lives. We can ascend.
It's by no means bad writing. It's just that every being in the DedSec organization is nobody, offering nothing to the tale being told. This, of course, was the compromise for being able to recruit literally anyone walking around the map, enemies included. Let's talk about the recruiting feature for a moment. It's a drawn-out process in the beginning, often requiring the completion of 2 to 3 missions before a character even joins your team. But once you unlock the Deep Profiler upgrade, you can sneak ahead and recruit people after just one brief mission. It quickly becomes ridiculous, and if you are playing without the death feature turned on, you'll almost immediately have too many people than you know what to do with, and absolutely no threat of losing the game. It's definitely a neat feature, but with only about 6 or 7 unique gadget abilities, there's no need for dozens of teammates, and a character creation system might have gone further in the end. After all, the cryptocurrency you collect can only be spent on clothing, and it's unlikely as it is that you'll have any favorite character on your team that you'll want to dress nicely. They're more of a means to an end than anything personal. Whoa, hold on. We're starting to enter negative territory, and we're better than that common rabble. Unfortunately, the negatives do stick out, however, with things like the F-bomb sprinkled in every sentence, more common than articles and participles, ultimately sounding cheesy and overly vulgar for no reason, and the lifeless character issue and mismatched voices we already touched on. But back on topic, the sandbox experience, particularly the combat, is very fun for all the aforementioned reasons. Nitpick and dissect it all you want, knocking it down to nothing more than incohesive sprinklings of the same thing over and over again in a poorly detailed world. Maybe it's not for everybody, and Lord knows it's the internet's favorite thing to hate on Ubisoft open worlds. But especially now in 2025 with a smooth 60 frames per second option and many of the bugs fixed, it can be a lot of fun to wander the streets uncuffing victims of the oppression, hide from pursuit in an alleyway, ride drones to deface billboards, and heck, maybe even save the world exclusively as a sex worker with a flatulence problem. Embracing the silliness and the sandbox experience can really open the doors to a good time with this game, and the very difficult resistance mode is a fun challenge at least once. So, is it a sloppy mess with seemingly less care put into it than the previous Watch Dogs games? Yeah, to a degree. But letting go of your bandwagon hatred and exploring the combat options can really unlock a fun experience, minimal story necessary. And there's a whole multiplayer mode focused on this polished combat that I've personally never explored, as I do not have the PlayStation Online service. And of course, if you still are full of hate, there's at least the Bloodline DLC that unlocks Aiden Pierce and Wrench from the prior games, who play more like characters you want to keep alive, and the upgrade system within the Bloodline mode is completely different than the tech point system of the main game. Watch Dogs is a series that was almost doomed before it started, but did so many little things right along the way, enough to make fans around the world. And Legion is often cited these days as the nail in the coffin. But with 3 games in the series, all of which got better with time, I personally don't see why Watch Dogs has to end. Legion has its flaws, but in at the very least one aspect, it shines perhaps the brightest of all 3 games in terms of gameplay fun factor, even if the need now is to go back to the series' roots and drive the story with protagonists. My overall point is that Watch Dogs Legion is not nearly as awful and unplayable as the internet makes it out to be, even if the previous games offered a better narrative, immersion, and more developer heart put into it. It might not make sense for a flatulent magician from Camden to overthrow an entire police force and stop all crime in London, but damn if it isn't fun to mess around with, and all those drones really are missed when going back to the older games. I hope this video helped shed a seldom talked about positive light on Watch Dogs Legion, and I thank you for watching.
It's time for a hard reset.
Oh my god.